friends, it's Carly, and welcome back to another episode of the I Learned podcast. So grateful to have you here in this space. If you haven't done so yet today, take a big, deep, full belly breath for one thing. Let's really settle in. I've been trying to practice this lately in terms of opening up the spaciousness of my moments and letting there be ease and peacefulness, which as I learned from Eckhart Tolle, peacefulness is a freedom from worry that we give to ourselves. We grant that for ourselves. There are always things in the world to worry about, always. And eventually it's up to us to opt out of that practice and to let our minds be peaceful and to let our moments be open and spacious. And I hope that, while you take in this episode, that perhaps that can be one of those moments for you, an open and spacious moment. So, as you saw from the title of the episode, we are talking about Instagram, where I have not made podcast episodes a whole lot lately. And I've been busy on two other platforms. I've been releasing YouTube videos every day, making sure that that's happening. And then also more recently, getting familiar with Instagram and how to expand my reach on that platform, where I've never been on Instagram. I've had Facebook since like 2006 and have never taken the step over to Instagram for whatever reason. And here just in the last few months, it has felt like that's something that I do want to do. I do want to put owning authenticity and my message under that umbrella. I do want to use Instagram to put that message out there. So that has been happening. And I'll say it's been such a fun experiment of getting to learn this new platform. And for the first several months, the focus on adding content to my page was more around quotes and picture posts, like informational type posts, very like still content, like just a picture. And my account sat at like 32 followers for months. Like literally months went by and it'd be like, oh, there's a new follower. And then it'd be like, you'd log in and like 2 followers left and you're like, crap, like what the hell? Like what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what am I not doing correctly? And so I didn't really fuss about that. I didn't really like torture myself about like, why isn't this growing? It just was like an interesting curiosity, like, there must be something more that I'm supposed to be offering if the universe is gonna, or the algorithm, you can say it's the algorithm, I think it's the universe, picking up your content and showing it to people and, them resonating with it, like getting your content in front of the people who are going to resonate with it. That's totally the universe and law of attraction. And here I am for months sitting stagnant in my growth. And you gotta wonder, like, so what gives? What do you want me to do? And I feel like I couldn't even tell you how it happened on my side. The part that stands out most to me is my creative assistant, Maddie. She and I meet every 2 weeks to just touch base and share life updates and all kinds of fun things that help our creative energy work together, even though she's like 1,500 miles away. So we're on this call and I told her, I'm like, reels are, that's where it's at. That's where I'm wanting to focus going forward. That was the message that had kind of wiggled its way in through the cracks for me in my awareness, was that growth on Instagram is now currently happening through doing reels. And that was kind of the first step to like figuring out Instagram, is that if you're not doing reels, chances are your page isn't growing a whole lot. not near as much as it could if you would put yourself in the reels part, because that's where the people are, that's where they're hanging out. So that's, if you want to be seen by the people, you need to go over there. Makes total sense. And the really fun universal alignment piece was when I was going to tell her this. We have a topics document, not that it matters, but I had put it on there of reels. I want to talk to her about reels. That's something that I put on our topics for the next meeting. And a couple days before our meeting, she uploaded a reel that she had taken an episode of this podcast. I think it was episode 43, Mermaid Life. And she cut it and edited it and remixed it into 32 seconds and then made a reel to go with that audio. Because obviously there's no video, it's just a podcast episode. So yeah, she did that and did that all on her own, because she had also come to the understanding that reels are how we need to focus if we want to grow the page. And so the fact that the universe brought us both to that same realization, basically at the same exact time, you gotta love that. You gotta love when the universe lines up for you. So that's the main takeaway, as far as very, very simply, if you want your account to grow on Instagram, you need to be doing reels. And okay, cool. So then I started playing around with reels. And this is where I want to share a concept that I had not heard of before, but as I Googled it, there's tons out there that you can find to read up on RSA, or rapid skill acquisition. RSA. Basically skill building, how do you build skills? And I bring this into the conversation because Instagram is a skill just like anything else. And having success with Instagram is a skill like anything else. So I know for me, in those few months that the account wasn't growing and the page isn't getting a lot of engagement, and just there's no traction happening, there's no momentum building here, WTF, for real. And in those moments, anytime my energy overall would dip a little low, if I'm a little tapped out, the self-doubt can easily creep in, where you start to think that this lack of performance of your page is about you and your content. It's not good, you're not good. Obviously, I don't believe that, and especially my higher self doesn't believe it. But when my energy sinks, those thoughts are there waiting for me. And I think that was honestly the point of me going through those few months of not having success, was to realize that having success with Instagram is about knowing how the tool works. It's really not a reflection of you yourself personally. It is a reflection of your ability to work with the tool you're trying to use. And I mean, here I am posting picture posts for months, seeing no building of engagement, and then figuring out along the way, through just being on the platform and watching other people do what they're doing and seeing what's working for them, literally spending that time to acquire this skill of Instagram. And that's rapid skill acquisition. It's basically the idea that it takes at least 20 hours to build a skill. So if, for instance, Instagram was a tool that you're wanting to use, basically in your mind, mentally approach it and commit to, I'm going to play with this tool for at least 20 hours. I'm going to interact with the tool for at least 20 hours. And after that, then I might be willing to say I'm skilled in this, or I have confidence because now I am seeing that the performance of my page is doing better because I know now how the tool works. I've spent the time to study and to learn. And it basically lets you off the hook for being a beginner. That if you want to build a new skill, if you want to get good at something, everybody has to start somewhere. Everybody started from the same exact starting point of 0 followers, zero things on your page. We all have to start from somewhere. And regardless of what the skill is that you would want to build, this idea of coming to it from a place where you're not going to beat up on yourself for at least 20 hours. Just like push pause on being self-critical for at least 20 hours. The other kind of side of RSA, rapid skill acquisition, is about like, it's not about having 20 hours all by itself. It's like, do those 20 hours as fast as you possibly can. So if like you spent an hour or 2 hours a day every single day for 20 days, in 20 days, you could have built a decent little chunk of the skill that you're trying to build within yourself. So putting it together and moving through the practice and tackling those awkward beginner moments. And that is the next thing I want to share. This is all weaving itself together so nicely today. Thank you for that. Whatever's orchestrating these thoughts behind the scenes, I appreciate you. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Instagram Live is another way that you can kind of boost the visibility of your profile. And I for whatever reason, I feel really called to that. It feels like more than just boosting the visibility of my profile. It feels like something that I personally for myself need to do to be confident and feel worthy enough to do that, I think, is the big hurdle. So with this goal of stepping into this Instagram Live space, I am working through my worthiness issues. Like, that's the real point, not doing the Instagram Live. But as I stepped in, I'm exploring, even just pushing go live is terrifying, because you think like, am I going to be live like immediately? No, you're not. So I pushed the go live finally and was exploring the functionality inside the live space and clicking on all the buttons and just seeing what they do. Classic line 3 in human design, just experimenting, just like having the whole full experience. And I clicked on one of the buttons and it was called audience. And by default, it is on live, which means when you press the final button saying, yes, I want to go live, that it will broadcast basically that like other people can join in your live, and then they can chat and they can send comments and ask questions and you can respond. You can like have an ongoing conversation with people through that experience. It can be very impromptu, very flexible. And I'm just flat out not ready to do that. But I was ready enough to click on the button to just see how it works. That curiosity. Natural next step is I'm not ready to do the whole thing, but I am ready to learn more about it. And I'm so glad I did, because that audience button, you can change it off of live and you can put it on practice mode. It's Instagram Live practice mode, where your video is basically just a closed off room of you talking to yourself. Nobody's allowed in there while you're in practice mode. And at the end, it basically saves your video. And then if you want to share it as a whole video, you can. And so like you have total control over that process, meaning you could go in there, and I shared this as one of my reels, is like an idea for building up your public speaking or your speaking abilities is to commit to spending 20 hours making Instagram Lives on practice mode. I mean, you could easily do this with the video recorder on your phone, but if you do it in that Instagram Live practice mode, those videos are there. You may surprise yourself with how good it actually all comes together in the end. So much of our apprehension about like starting is about like, we're not going to be perfect at it. It's not going to be good enough, whatever. Well, like when you're in that practice mode space, it can totally suck. You can run out of things to say. You can lose your train of thought right in the middle. Your dog can start barking and you totally like lose the whole thing. And it doesn't matter. You can like just delete the video when you're done, period. Delete, nobody ever sees it. So that is, I think, a step forward. If you're like me, I still haven't done a full-on live where I allow people in to like watch me while I'm doing it and talk to me while I'm doing it. Someday, like I said, it feels like a process that my soul needs to evolve through. But for now, doing it in practice mode is practicing still. like just still practicing that skill of opening my mouth and saying the thing. That all by itself is a skill that I am very much still working on building. And this Instagram outlet that I've been learning these last few weeks and practicing, it's so fun to watch how it all unfolds and watch how the little bits of inspiration come, and that you do learn as you go and as you experience, and that then you implement what you've learned, and then you get better results, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it really does work. Like, that's so crazy. That literally my page growing had nothing to do with me. I wasn't using the tool the way that it's designed to be used. So that realization has been really powerful these last few weeks. And I wanted to share it with you too, in this sense of, to get good at anything, we have to go through it. We have to step into it and start trying. And only through the trying do we ever end up being good at something. So I wanted to kind of cap it off with this example. My favorite Instagram reel that I have made so far is one that was totally inspired in the moment through, like, I had the vision of how I wanted to do it in the moment, and I just like did it and published it, and it was perfect. But the reason that I had that idea to do it was because of this really awesome, fun, profound conversation that I had that day. And I had that conversation because of a really fun, awesome, profound conversation that I had the day before. And through those two conversations, I wind up with, like, in this moment of kind of quiet, peaceful, alone time, serenity in my own process, in my own little world, this idea lands to basically do a reel of me writing on my page, on my journal page. And what I wrote was, what skills do you have right now? And then I wrote a little thing there for the caption, and that reel currently has 22 plays, which, if you're on Instagram, that's not very many. That basically means it didn't get picked up by the algorithm yet, anyway. Which is cool. That's okay, right? I had fun, and it's still my favorite reel just because the way it came together, the reason I was inspired with it, the inspiration as it flowed, the whole process was just so juicy and creative, and it didn't perform well. And it's like, okay, well, that's helpful to further clarify, what is my whole purpose of doing this? Is it to expand the reach of my profile, or is it to have those juicy, creative, delicious experiences where I feel like my creativity is flowing and that I'm doing a good job and I'm expressing myself in a way that feels good and all of that? And it's the second one, like, it has been so fun to create and to put my thoughts out there in these little bite-sized pieces, something that I did not think I could do. And here I am doing it because I said, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I am going to try. And here I am trying, and I am getting better and better at it. And it's so fascinating. My favorite reel that didn't perform well, I ended up last night being inspired to basically use that same format, that same writing on the journal page and just recording myself writing. And I asked, what advice would you give to your 14-year-old self? And I jotted down a couple of examples, like, speak up, ? Slow down, ? Relax, ? Like, and asked, like, with adding text on the screen, asked people to please tell me in the comments what you would say if you could go back and whisper something in the ear of your 14-year-old self. And that is also because of something that I learned, is that if you can get people to comment on your stuff, it raises you in the algorithm. That's like, AKA, you've learned how to use the tool effectively. You need to get people to comment on your content. So that post of like using that same format of writing on the journal page, but now asking what advice would you give, and adding the step of adding the text on the screen that requests people to comment, which it does have several comments, and it has 850 plays compared to the one with only 22 plays from several days ago, but done in the exact same format. So these little steps of like learning how to use the tool, learning how to use Instagram, like it is a process that has to unfold through time. And the only way to learn how to use it is to publish content and see if it works, right? Like throw it out there and see if it goes. And if it doesn't, okay, like back to the drawing board, like how can I increase engagement? How can I, whatever the answer might be. Reels are where it's at. Getting people to comment is where it's at. And otherwise, like, don't be personally offended if your stuff doesn't perform that well. That's cool, like there are values and benefits to like just doing it for the sake of getting to do it. Like I did, my second favorite reel is one about like being in the bed, and I think maybe I should get out the bed so I could do something off the bed, but then I'll just be out there doing nothing when I could be doing nothing in the bed. Like that was so fun, and it was my first attempt at a lip sync reel where I used somebody else's audio and I just moved my mouth to act like I was saying those words. It took me like half an hour to figure out like how to memorize not only the lyrics, like the words, but also the timing so that my mouth moved in the same time as this. It ended up being like meditative almost, to like kind of lose myself in this practice, this rehearsal of like trying to get my lip sync right on this like pointless, not necessarily pointless. I do want to destigmatize napping and resting and all of those kinds of good things. But it's another one that has like 23 plays, and it was like my favorite. So some of my favorite ones that have been so soothing to my creative spirit haven't performed well. And so it begs the question, like, why are you doing it? And it's very clear to me, I'm doing it for fun. I'm doing it for the fun of getting to express and getting to create and create on a daily basis, because that feels like the act of creating is putting gas in my gas tank, and it feels so aligned to be nurturing my spirit like this on a daily basis. And today, this morning, I am just flat out grateful for the Instagram platform, and wanted to write a little love letter to this structure that lets me create and express in this way that feels so good to me. So thank you so much for listening. As always, I appreciate your energy in this space. I hope this was a nice little break from whatever reality you're currently in. And until next time, you take good care of yourselves, and so will I.